That was it. They weren't so big.
They're just pups. Wait till you see their mother.
Hey there, spirits, and welcome back to the graveyard. My name's Soul, and this is my ghost friend, Art.
Forgive me for keeping you waiting, stranger.
A while back, I got really into making light boxes using my Cricut. I was inspired by Chezlin's Lightbox tutorial, and I wanted to make my own. I started out with this inside-out light box that I made for Sam by cutting the paper by hand. Then I went on to making this Totoro light box with my Cricut for my coworker's baby shower. She was making a Ghibli-inspired baby room, and that light box is inspired by this artwork.
I believe you'll recognize this.
I continued exploring this craft with my Westie Lightbox and really got the knack for it and the materials and their costs. Well, this past year, my friend reached out and said she finally had the money to commission a custom Princess Mononoke lightbox for me after seeing the Totoro one. Now, I'm a huge Ghibli fan. Spirited Away is kind of my favorite movie of all time. So you can imagine how excited I was to make this. She gave me full creative freedom on the project, and this is how I made it. Let's start.
Right, let's go.
I start off the process in Procreate and use black to white as my layers. Having them different colors of gray helps simulate what it will look like when the lighting is shining through them. The negative space is what's cut out, and the color is what remains on the layer. Make sure you make the canvas size the same size as the interior of the shadow box that you're going to be using. Unlike this dummy who didn't have a box when I started, so I kind of found out the hard way after weeding the layers that it was too big.
I'm afraid this is very bad.
And then I would have to go on and repeat that process 2 other times.
Stop it! You'll kill yourself!
And you'll want to make sure you measure the insides of the boxes because the manufacturers are line foxes that say it's an 8x10 inch box, but in actuality, it's slightly smaller inside. Okay, first you're gonna separate the background into different layers. I find that around 6 layers is a good amount so the light can still shine through it. I wanted to draw as many major references from the movie as possible with also telling a story behind the piece. First, I started off with the kodama sitting in the bushes. Don't worry about these things not connecting to the sides of the paper because I'll show you a little secret to make that work. Usually you have to make sure all the sides touch the edges to make sure it stays on the paper. Then I added Ashitaka! And his red elk, Yakul.
Yakul! Come on, boy!
To the next layer. I wanted them to be looking into the piece like they were looking at the adventure that was going to be ahead of them. The next layer I added Irontown, the village that is centered around the whole conflict of the movie. Then I added a small hill on the bottom to help add depth and interest to that bottom corner. After that, I added a mountain range with 2 very big characters. Lady Eboshi, the head of Irontown, is a strong female character who is a sharp shot, so I wanted to have her holding a gun. Then I added Lorikoto, the blind, wise boar god, come to take revenge on the humans for demolishing the forest. And I had the 2 of them looking at each other to show the overall conflict between nature and humans that the movie centers around. The next layer, I added 1 more mountain range with San and the wolf pups, aka her siblings. I wanted to include San's iconic clay mask. Having all 3 of them up on this tall layer was to show how much power they have in the mountain range, and also how important they are in the story. And lastly, I wanted the top of the image to have the great forest spirit in its otherworldly Nightwalker form. Having this be the topmost part of the art piece was to show that it was the highest power over everything. It is the god of life and death that controls all. Now, with the artwork done, it's time to bring this baby to life.
Hold it right there!
If you don't want to anger the forest spirits, you should probably subscribe to the channel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did that sound like a threat?
You wouldn't want to enrage a forest god, would you? I then took it into Photoshop to resize and get it ready to import into the Cricut app. I made sure to export it from Procreate with the layers separated, so as a PSD file. Next is to add the border around each layer. We will later glue foam board pieces onto each layer to give it depth from the next one. I used a 0.25 inch rectangle and stretched it to the length of each side. After that, it was a matter of exporting each layer separately with a transparent background. I then uploaded each layer into the Cricut app, resized it to the right size, and cut each one separately using the cardstock for intricate cuts base material. And I make sure to have the layers mirrored because it becomes very important for my secret technique that I'm going to use later on.
Come, I'll show you all my secrets.
Now with my mat. Wait a minute.
Something's there.
No way. What are you doing? Okay, now with the standard grip mat, I'm adding my cardstock, and then it's off to getting cut by the Cricut. Then using my pointy dentist tool and the pointy tweezer tool, I'm going to pick out all of the pieces that aren't needed. It's easier to take the pieces off while they're still on the mat. This step is important for the layers that will have floating pieces later on. Once that's done, I pull away the mat from the paper to prevent it from curling. And look at how much tiny detail the Cricut can cut out cleanly.
Pretty.
Now it was just a matter of repeating all the previous steps for each layer. When it came to the layers that have floating pieces that weren't touching the sides, I had to cheat a little bit. And I don't know if this is considered blasphemous. I picked like one of the most hardest words to say. I don't know if this is considered blasphemous from the Lightbox crafting community, but this is something I just made to solve my problem with the Kodama's faces.
Follow me if you wish to learn my secret.
Oh look, here's a video of me playing Operation with all these Kodama's faces.
Doesn't look good to me!
Once I weeded out all the unwanted pieces and placed all the pieces that accidentally came up when I was weeding, I pulled out my secret weapon. But first, I'm going to have to save all those screaming faces for my trapped souls pile.
Oh my god, there's thousands of them!
I took clear packaging tape and placed it over each of the heads to keep the eyes and mouths in place. I hope that's what they are because the thought of them just being gaping holes is kind of nightmare fuel. I make sure to place the tape over each of the heads, and I'm not being very precise because I plan on just cleaning up all of the tape edges later with some scissors. Then it's just rinse and repeat for each of the other complicated layers. This technique isn't foolproof because it's sticky on the backside still, so any dust will collect on it, but I don't have any other way of solving this without the tape, so if you have any suggestions, I'd be happy to hear them, so comment them down below. And don't be afraid to place the peeled off piece back down if it pulls up any detailed areas, like what I'm doing here with San's mask. And since I mismeasured and had to repeat the process 2 other times,
Fine.
Nori decided to supervise the Cricut for me. Isn't she just the most generous cat? I don't want to cut these anymore.
You mustn't give up. We'll find a way.
Now with all the layers ready, it's time to assemble. I'm taking this scrap black foam board Sam had left over from her architecture models.
Don't be a hoarder. Don't be. It has potential. It has potential.
And I'm going to be using it for my spacers. We cut each board to the 2 sizes for the layers, top and bottom, and the left and right. You'll need 4 sticks per layer. Then we cut them into 0.25 inch widths to match the frame that we put on the layers. This is kind of a tedious process, so I suggest just putting on a podcast or music and just cutting away. But you'll see this with a jump cut, see what I did there, with video editing magic.
Oh, this place is magical.
And now that we have all our sticks, it's a matter of gluing each one onto the back sides of the frame of each layer with a glue stick. Repeat to all the other ones. Here's what the width of the layers look like with all of the spacers. The width of the layer should be thinner than the box with room on the backside for lights. The last layer I decided to add wax paper onto the back so it would cover up the holes that would show the exposed messy back part of the box. I made sure to wipe the inside of the box and the glass clean because the box isn't planned to be opened again once we seal it.
Whatever comes to pass now, you are dead to us forever.
And because I had to resize the artwork to fit into the box, the dimensions were all off and there was this space at the top of the layers. I was so annoyed at this point. Luckily, it was exactly the width of one foam board, and once I had that cut down to the same width as all the layers stacked on top of each other, this patchwork job might actually work. Once that was done, all that was left to do was to add the lighting. I just stuck this RGB light strip around the edges of the inside of the back of the box, making sure to have the wires sticking out of the bottom. I then took some crumple foil and hot glued it to the front of the back of the box. The front of the back of the box. Say that 5 times fast. This was to help the light bounce towards the layers in the box. The crumpling helps diffuse the light and scatters it in a bunch of different directions. After cutting off the excess foil, I was able to put the back on it and it had enough space to squeeze the wires under it without needing to cut a notch in the backing. I bought this short light strip because it runs off of batteries because I didn't know if this would be placed on a shelf with an outlet nearby. So let's make something simple to hold the battery pack. Unfortunately, the battery pack had this switch on the back side and the door on the opposite side for the batteries, so I couldn't just simply hot glue it to the back. So I had to take a couple of days to figure out how to attach it to the box. After many ideas and a sleep later, I came up with a simple solution.
Come on, keep moving straight ahead. Today we finish this.
I decided to take this plastic sheet I took off of an old spinach container. Who am I, Stutson Studio?
Just stop throwing things away and instead create a somewhat organized landfill under your desk.
And decided to make a strip of plastic that you could slide the battery pack in and out of. The plastic was thin enough to bend around the box to get the perfect dimensions, but sturdy enough to hold it to the back securely. Using some goop, I added the strip to the back of the box. Hot glue wasn't quite strong enough to hold it. Lastly, I wanted to add a little bit of flavor before finishing off this box. Ah, perfect.
A Kodama. I never thought I'd see one of them here.
I found a pack of 10 of these glow-in-the-dark figures on Amazon and thought they would be perfect for this project. With a little bit of goop and holding, these guys were set in place on the edge of the inner frame. All that was left was to add a sticker with my signature and a QR code to this video to the back of the box. And just like that, we're on to the beauty shots.
Finally. There he is. Come and see. Hurry.
You're beautiful.
Hey, you're not handsome, you're gorgeous.
I'm so proud of how this piece came out, and my friend has a whole area dedicated to just this piece, so it's in a good home. If you end up making your own Lightbox from this tutorial, all I have to say is
Good luck, stranger.
and tag me on any of my socials so I can see what you make. And if you want to see another crafting video, go check out the videos on the screen. And in the meantime, don't go shooting any spirits' heads off and enraging a forest god. And until next time, see ya!